Hello everybody, it is Saturday, April 8th, 2023, and I'm just going to make a quick video about my goji berry seedlings. These ones right here were sown in a repurposed strawberry container. These were sown, I forgot to actually write down when I actually sowed these, but these have been up for like maybe a week or two. These were just brought outside here in Savannah, Zone 8B, I believe. And these were just sown completely outdoors. I have an Ultra HD camera, so I might as well put that to use, zooming in on these guys. But I had the lid closed for humidity and all of that while they were still germinating, and once the first few sprouts started coming up, I opened it up again so they'd have more airflow and all of that. So these ones were just started from dried store-bought fruit from just a random brand. So I'm actually not sure if these are Lycium barbarum or Lycium chinense. So because I wasn't sure which kind these were. Just today I sowed some from a seed packet from Tradewinds fruit that I know for certain, well, at least as much as you can be certain when you're buying seed packets. I know that these are going to be Lycium chinense, just in case the dried version of these turn out to be Lycium barbarum. I'm going to do comparisons between these two, and because we live here in Georgia and it's already been multiple days in the high 80s, that everything's just getting sown directly outside. But I just started these today, and they're going to get watered when the rain starts pouring down here in the next hour or two, because we're going to get a lot of days of rain. So we have some Lycium chinense goji berries, mystery species goji berries, started from store-bought dried fruit, super duper easy. Just kind of mushed them up and just stow the seeds in here and put some soil on top. And then over here we have their cousin, the black goji berry, which I also got these seeds from Tradewinds Fruit, because everybody on Etsy was charging like $20 for 5 seeds or whatever. And these are Lycium ruthenicum, assuming I'm saying that correctly. These are also just going to get watered by the rain whenever it starts pouring down rain. And it's going to be multiple days in the 80s and all that, so they'll get plenty of heat and they'll just come up whenever they want. So that's for these. Just putting an update that this is when I sow the black goji berries and the Lycium chinense. So we'll see how long it takes for those guys to sprout, and we'll see how long it takes these guys. Some of them are already getting their first true leaves, which is awesome. And something I just learned from a different video on YouTube is that whenever we transplant these, once they're established a root system and all that, they'll actually send up little plant suckers. So one plant will turn into many, just like with maypop, passiflora, and carnata passion flowers. So there is that. And speaking of maypops, here's some clones back here. These are just from cuttings. That one didn't work. And that is a wild variegated Chinese privet that we found. Just a variegated branch which is grown in the wild, so we took a cutting from the tip of it. So that's just cool. We always seem to find a lot of variegated wild things just from looking at plants. Here's our container garden. It's hopefully going to be more contained when we move over to the other apartment. Here's another passion flower, a different species. This one's Passiflora lutea. This is native here to Georgia. This one doesn't have too much variegation on it, but a lot of the ones around our apartment here have very strong variegation in the center. And we're not sure if that's just something typical for the area. Oh, those leaves fell off, but the stem is still alive. I'll give a little demo of one of the ones we have. Ah, this one. Yeah, a lot of the Passiflora lutea here has this variegation in the center. We're not sure if that's typical for the species or actual variegation, since some plants seem to have regular leaves while others are variegated. Here's our Passiflora lutea coming back from the 17 degrees freeze that we had just in February. Here's the first flower bud of the year. This is the passion flower that is native here to the US, also known as maypop, either because the fruits may pop when you step on them or because they pop up in May, depending on your location. But these guys are cold hardy all the way to at least Pennsylvania, which is where we grew them originally. Here's this one. As you can see, these guys send up lots of runners. Here's a little sucker coming up. And then these are more clones from another wild plant that we found. These ones are original plants that came down with us as cuttings, and then these are cuttings from a wild plant. That way we got more genetic diversity along with whatever seeds we save, which are super easy. As we come over here, we got some pawpaws. Obviously containers are not ideal for pawpaws, but you do what you can. Here's another pawpaw. It's a lemon tree from seed that recently got crushed by a giant tree branch, but still alive. That's a pepper plant in a hanging basket that's turning 2 years old this year. Various milkweeds. This is Joe Pye weed from the native plant sale, and these are more pawpaws from the native plant sale. These are in air printing containers. Down here, more milkweed, but this is aquatic milkweed, aka Asclepias perennis. So this is a native variety you probably aren't going to really find in nurseries and stuff unless they specifically sell native plants. Those are some, don't forget, I don't remember the variety, but these are a cultivar, strawberry cultivar from Burpees that has pink flowers. And right next to it we have pine berries grown from seed from store-bought fruit. These are just over a year old. I started them last February from seed. They have not flowered yet, but they are sending out runners already, so that's great. And over here, this is another pawpaw. Yeah, and look at this. Look how tall this is. This is a small flower pawpaw, so Asamina parviflora. And they are a shrub instead of a tree, so they're already fruiting at this big. And these were taken from root cuttings to save a plant that was getting mowed down otherwise and dug up. Okay, so over here for actual part 2 of the video. Other than showing off, there's a whole bunch of common persimmon seedlings. And in here is my passiflora quadrangularis start that I got from Etsy. This is the first one I transplanted. I'm going to wait until I transplant the other ones until we've actually moved, so I don't have to lug even more heavy containers over. And this is part 2 of the video because I keep forgetting to make one of it, but these are Tamarillo seedlings. These are Solanum betaceum or Cyphomandra betaceum, depending on who you ask. It seems to depend on what the official thing is. I'm not quite sure if it's been updated or not properly. But this one is growing in a 5-ish gallon litter container, and these will actually grow into giant huge fruit trees if you let them, or if you have the space to actually plant them in the ground. I'm not sure how cold hardy they are. At some point when these are bigger, I'll take a cutting from them, put that in a pot, let it get established, and then I'll leave it out over winter with no protection to see if they survive, because we have very mild winters here except for the very occasional frost and hard freeze. But these are multiple seedlings just grown from fresh fruit that I ordered online last year. So the 3 here that are in their own individual pots with various little volunteers and weeds coming up, I think that's either pokeweed or it's Malabar spinach. They look very similar when they're little. But these 3 seedlings are from the fruit that was extra large out of a whole batch. And then these guys here are just from a normal sized Tamarillo. But the leaves smell like burnt popcorn, which is very interesting. Burnt and or buttered popcorn. And they all have this neat dark purple coloration when they're just growing. So, yeah, super interesting. They'll turn into huge giant fruit trees Not sure how long they take to produce fruit, but we will see. Hopefully at some point I'll have space to put them all in their own big containers, as big as possible, to get them to grow fruit, with a lot of pruning, obviously, to keep them small. But, yep. Here we have some pink mustard going to seed. Might bring these inside somewhere dry so they have a chance to dry out properly. But this is just a mystery mustard that came in a seed packet that was mislabeled. It was supposed to be an ornamental kale, and it was a bright pink mustard instead. Oh, and down here, other than the weeds popping up from the community garden soil, which we already knew was kind of crappy, these are more goji berries from the same dried fruit that I had ordered online, just in a different container. So, got some weeds coming up in there, but that is one right there, if I'm not mistaken, and that's probably another one. We'll see. So yeah, we got tons and tons of goji berries from the store-bought dried fruit. Then we also have the black ones, which I'm really excited to grow. There's somebody out there on Etsy, I do not recall their name, that has actually crossed the Lycium ruthenicum black goji berry with a red goji berry, and they got purple ones out of the mix that are very expensive. So if I actually had disposable income other than growing the same plants for 5+ years as a perennial, I'd be buying that right away. But we don't own a house, we don't have a yard that we can actually plant in, so that won't happen anytime soon. But in the future, I would love to grow these random purple goji berries and see what comes out of the seeds and all that. But as a random pro tip, if you do not know, peppers, eggplants, and tomatoes are all perennials if you protect them from frost and freezes, which is super easy to do if you grow them in containers. So this right here is a Sugar Rush Red. I thought this one was dead, just like most of the things. That's the stem in the center there that was completely 100% dead. And then on either side, here's more branches coming right back up from the stem. In here, we've got a Sugar Rush Cream. You can see some of the fruit that dried on it while it was indoors under frost protection. And this is, I was gonna say it's already flowering. Nope, it's already fruiting. That one got pollinated successfully. Over here we have a Christmas Bell, which is also flowering and producing fruit. These are both Capsicum bassatum instead of Capsicum chinense and Capsicum annuum, which are the more well-known pepper species. Capsicum annuum is going to be your jalapenos, bell peppers, serranos, all that, while Capsicum chinense is going to be your habaneros, ghost peppers, and things like that. So that's Capsicum bassatum over there. I also have three Capsicum pubescens. They're not exactly happy, but they're called that because they have pubescent leaves, aka the hairy, fuzzy leaves. I only got a few fruit off of these last year because it was too hot for them overnight, but some of these are already starting to flower. Let's see if I can get one. Aha! Yeah, starting to flower, I say. Right now, these guys are covered in beautiful purple and white blooms. And I've got at least one fruit there. Nope, I was gonna say that stem looks yellow, so that already fell off. But here's a Capsicum pubescens flower. Very pretty flowers, very pretty plants, and very interesting peppers. So I'm hoping to grow more varieties of this in the future. Here's another Capsicum bassatum. This one is another Sugar Rush Cream. This is actually one of my original plants, and this is turning 5 years old this year. So this one actually got hit a little bit by the frost. So you can see the stem here. It's kind of dying off a little bit. It just got trimmed recently. But this is all new growth, which is already flowering. This particular one is Barbara. Barbara, the Sugar Rush Cream plant, named after Doctor Who companions, as are all of my other Sugar Rush peppers. So yeah, that's a Ricotta, that's Capsicum bassatum. This one is Pimenta denade. This one I think is turning 3 years old this year. And it got a little bit dried while it was inside and being completely neglected for a month straight because I forgot about them in the plant room and just didn't feel like dealing with them. So stem's a little bit dry, but this is an all black capsicum chinense variety that's believed to be a natural cross between capsicum annuum and capsicum chinense. But when grown in full sun, if it'll focus, you can see the leaves are pitch black. All the new growth is pitch black, including the stems, and they have dark purple flowers. The fruits are around habanero level heat. There's actually a dried pepper over there that I can save seeds from if I wanted to, but I'm swimming in seeds. So I'll probably just stick that right back in the original pot and pick up the seedlings as they sprout and put them in new pots to give away. But you can see all this new growth is coming right back out of the original bark. And you can see it's turning into a literal tree here on this old growth. Here's some new growth that kind of shows off the color, but they're very neat. And the fruits are pretty small and oblong, and they stay dark purple / black the entire time up until they're finally fully ripe, where they usually get a purple or a pink blush in the sunlight. Very neat looking, and I'll hopefully remember to post some videos of those later on in the year. You can see they kind of start out green in the center and they turn black as they're under the sun. Here is Susan, my other 5-year-old sugar rush cream plant. Yep, Susan's already developing little flower buds. This one was named Susan last year after it got hit by 17 degrees, I believe it was. And then I totally thought it was dead, cut everything back down to the soil line, and it grew this much in just a few months. And here in a little, this is actually a little candy dish skull planter, or candy dish skull Halloween that it turned into a planter. Very carefully hand sawing a drainage hole in it. And this is a black onyx ornamental pepper. Also, this one's turning 2 years old this year because it was overwintered like the others. But that just makes, it's a little ornamental pepper that makes little round ones. And this is a clone from one of my capsicum pubescens peppers. And then over here, super excited for this one and the other ones around it that were still alive last I checked. They just don't look like it. But this is Solanum quitoens, also known as Narangia, and this is actually a thornless cultivar because they're usually completely covered in like giant thorns that make gardening and growing with it very difficult. But this was a cutting that I got shipped from Hawaii, so I'm very excited for this, especially because this is the first one to actually come up. Those other ones are still green and still alive. The top parts of it have just died though, but they're still alive under the ground and all that, so hopefully they'll come popping up later on. Over here we have regular old Carolina Reaper. This one's turning 2 years old. Not as exciting because it was supposed to be a white variety that I was bought online, but it just turned out to be a regular red one. So I got store credit for that one being the wrong variety. And then right next to it, much more exciting, is the purple Carolina Reaper, which I assume was regular Carolina Reaper crossed with a pimented name, but these have the dark leaves and all that, and the peppers start out dark purple and then finally ripen to a reddish orange in some cases. Some of my peppers ripen to this really neat looking lava color. And then over here, this is a Sugar Rush Peach. This one I think is turning 3 years old, and as you can see, this one's bouncing back from being overwintered and hit by frost a little bit. It was originally all the way up here, but that had to get all chopped back today because you can see parts of this were dead. I didn't finish printing it all the way, but yeah, that's all already coming back. We have a Bregmansia right over here. This one, I don't remember what variety this is, but that's also what is right here. This is a variegated one called Maya also known as sunset. It's already got quite a few flowers. But these are also a solanaceae, and they have very large flowers that smell amazing. And they're always cultivars, so if you want to save seeds from them, you have to cross-pollinate two different varieties because they're not self-pollinating, and they're almost always propagated just from cuttings, which are extremely easy to take. So at some point, I had a seed pod on one of these earlier in the year, but I don't know what happened to it. I guess it fell off. Not quite sure even where that plant went, so somewhere. Anyways, so at some point when these are both open at once, I'll be cross-pollinating these, which have variegated leaves, obviously, and white to peach colored flowers, with this one, which I believe has pink flowers. Yeah, Brugmansia are super duper easy to grow. From cuttings, you just stick them straight into some water, and this is just one season's growth after being chopped up multiple times. Huge leaves, and you can use them as an alternative host plant for any hornworms you might find in your garden, snacking on your peppers, tomatoes, etc. Because what most people don't know is that hornworms are actually native nighttime pollinators, and they're actually losing their native host plants, which are all the wild solanums that are found all over the US and North America and all of that. So, yeah, if you have hornworms in your garden, please don't kill them. Easy alternative host plants that you can grow are just eggplants, seen in here, and you can grow Brugmansia as well as an alternative ornamental for them. Okay, my phone's running out of storage, so I gotta go. This is gonna be a huge HD video, so yep, I will see you next time with a garden update.